Okay, we're back here, season 5, and we're on the Baylor train. I told you we were going to do a special Baylor January here, just because I love Baylor and we have a big connection with those guys and gals down there. And so I wanted to do something. Really, it was all about doing something for our anchor, if you will. So 2 weeks from now, you'll see who is going to anchor this Baylor 4x4. You saw last week Mike Ford let us off, and you've already seen who's stepped up. He promised me he's run a couple of second legs, so this isn't no bad news here that he's being taken off the anchor and going to second leg here. Help me welcome the head coach of Liberty Christian School, the wise, the wonderful Mr. Jeremy Wariner. Jeremy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. This is a lot of fun for me for a couple of reasons. One, I got to know you a little bit as an athlete. I still remember dinner in Austin. I think it was you, and do you remember who joined us as a training partner?
It was actually in Albuquerque, I believe. Was it Albuquerque or was
it was Albuquerque? It was for USA Indoors or something like that. Yes. Yeah.
My training partner, Marcus Boyd, who also ran at Baylor.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
so that was back.
I remember his name.
2013, I believe.
Yeah, boy, that's really good. Yeah, that's exactly when it was. And that was a lot of fun for me. Obviously, being a fan of you as an athlete, it was really a lot of fun to get to know you as an athlete. But then now, more recently, in your coaching gigs, which we can't wait to talk about. Doing some business together, and just so grateful, for you continuing to choose Gill Athletics. So this is a lot of fun for me, and I think this will be a lot of fun for our audience as well. So appreciate you joining us here today, man. We stay focused on coaches here, and spoiler alert, Jeremy is a coach now, and we're going to get into that. But with you, Jeremy, it's a little hard not to talk about your journey without talking about some of the athleticism. So why don't we do it this way? Why don't we kind of knock out the athleticism real quick? But I do want to delve into the coaches that poured into you. So why don't you give us, for just that one person who's listening who doesn't know your history, give us like a 50,000 foot level of what you've accomplished in your career athletically.
All right. So, I started at age of 16, my sophomore year in high school. My head track coach, Mike Nelson, was also a football coach at my high school. And at that time, my freshman year, I played baseball. And during summer football, he had asked what I was doing during the spring. And I told him I was playing baseball. He saw me basically running routes and seeing how quick I was, and I was blowing by a lot of the defensive backs, and just asked if I'd be interested in coming out. And I had already talked to a few of my friends that ran track, and they had already pretty much convinced me to come out. So I was going to come out anyways, and that's kind of how I got started into it. So in high school, I finished my senior year with 2 state titles, one in the 400, one in the 200. With PRs of 2041 and 4557. And then obviously went to college my freshman year, dealt with a lot of injuries. Still got 7th indoors in the 400, and then outdoors. I made it to regionals, got 6th. I was qualified to go to nationals, but after talking to Coach Hart, we decided to just focus on the relay and because I had a bad foot, or not foot, but more of an ankle issue that was causing problems. And we wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to run 2 rounds of the relay and not be affected with that. So ended up doing that and ran I actually ran second leg at that meet. So
yeah, I knew it. I knew you were at the right spot.
So that was my first time. I was usually running, what was I ran anchor leg a lot of that year, just because Daryl had got hurt early in the season, I believe. And so I was kind of going back and forth, and then he was healthy. So we ended up going back to second leg. We ran okay. Wasn't our ideal position, and then focused on rehab and everything throughout the off season. And then 2004 hit, and everything just clicked. Obviously won indoor 400 and 4x4, outdoor 400, 4x4, and then went on to win the Olympic trials and obviously the Olympics. So kind of how things went throughout my first half of my career. And then from that moment on, I continued doing the same thing I did every year. I stayed in the training room. I stayed made sure I worked out exactly how Coach Hart wanted me to. Had amazing training partners throughout my whole career that my success wouldn't be there without those guys.
You know, what a great story. I love how you're kind of slowly moving through the process, and then all of a sudden, oh, then I win, and I win the Olympic trials, and I win the Olympic Games. I mean, what's amazing about that is you go in a, you know, roughly 4-year span of, I'm injured, I'm hurt, I don't even run the Open 400 for nationals. Maybe there had been some. You know, it's easy, especially as a freshman here. So we're 18-ish years old, to have some doubts. You know, did I make the right decisions? Am I doing this right? Et cetera, et cetera. And then 4 years later, which now you can think back goes by in a snap. It probably felt like every day was an eternity back then. In
Yeah.
4 years, you go from, I can't even run the Open 400 at nationals, to the Olympic champion. I mean, what a,
Actually, that was 1 year, because it was my freshman year to my sophomore year.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so yeah.
What a great story of like, hey, you may be in the muck today, whether, you know, if you're a coach and, you know, transfer portal hits you, you lost that one recruit, your stud athlete is injured. Tomorrow could be not only better, it could be the exact opposite. It could be everything roses. What a great story of perseverance, continuing to trust in the system and the coaches. So I love that. I appreciate that.
And that's kind of what I tell my athletes nowadays, you know, not just my athletes, even my daughter last year, in October, she ended up having a minor back surgery, nothing serious or anything. It was just, she had some vertebrae that needed to be cleaned up, or something along those lines. And so she ended up getting that done, and she missed most of her off season. She didn't start her senior year until right after spring break. Ended up going to state in the triple jump, and ended up getting a scholarship at Baylor out of it. So it all worked out for her. And, you know, just stories like that, you know, I kind of give to my high school kids and let them understand, you know, you're going to go through adversity. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to be patient. You got to be positive in yourself, and don't let one thing affect the rest of your career.
It's easy to think the world is ending because of this bad thing that has happened. And in reality, it's like, man, you stick to it. The world's going to be everything for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go back to high school. You mentioned your high school coach, Mike Nelson. That was his name. So Mike convinced you to come out. Some other of your teammates convinced you to come out. And you said within, because that was
my
sophomore year. So, you know, again, with the snap of a finger, you end up becoming the state champion in 2 events, things like that. Were you immediately good, or did you struggle? And did you immediately go into the, you know, they're all tough, but one of the tougher events, the 400?
So it was kind of funny. So during practice, my coach Nelson came up to me, and we were talking. He was like, well, what do you want to run? And so I was 16. It was my sophomore year. I was like, well, I want to run the 2 and the 4. So I kind of chose both of those events, which is strange.
Wait a minute. You're not supposed to do that. I thought for sure you were going to say the 100, because everybody says, yeah, we just run the 100. How did you even know, like, that's might be what you want to do?
I have no idea. I don't know why I picked them. I just picked them. I didn't think I didn't want to be that one person that everybody chooses the 100. That's what everybody chooses. And, you know, I wanted to challenge myself. I didn't know much about it. I just knew, you know, let me try it. Let me see how it works. And so my first meet, I was on JV my sophomore year, my first race of the season, ended up running 50 flat and 22 flat. So after that, the very next meet, he moved me up to varsity. And so I was on varsity my whole sophomore year. Ended up getting, I think I got third. I got second at district in the 400, ended up going to regionals and got third at regionals that year. So top 2 at regionals go to state. So I missed state by 1 spot my sophomore year.
It's one thing to say you want to be a quarter miler. Do you remember? So you said that first one you ran a 50. Do you remember? I'm going to overstate it maybe, and either fallen in love with the quarter, or like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, this hurt a little bit more than I thought. Maybe I need to stick to the 200.
No, I really enjoyed it. It was a challenge, and, you know, I also had the 200 on the back end at the end of the season, and then didn't run any 4x4s that year. We didn't have enough kids, so it was just the 2 and the 4. But it's just something I enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a challenge, and, you know, I love challenges. I love challenging myself. I love challenging my athletes. So it kind of just fell into place, and, you know, I just worked hard at it.
I'm always fascinated by superstar athletes in high school, not because of the athlete, but because of the coach. Typically, it's the first time that coach has coached someone of that level. I mean, a lot of coaches coach amazing kids that go on to state and even win state, but Jeremy, you were a little bit, just another touch up there in regards to your athleticism in these events. Do you remember how Coach Nelson worked with you in regards to, like, how did he continue to challenge himself to make sure he's challenging you to, to continue to get better? Do you remember any kind of cohesiveness, or was it just, what, coach told me what to do and I shut up and I went and did it?
It was basically whatever he told me to do is what I was doing. I was fortunate enough to have a coach that understood track and field. He wasn't a football coach that coached track. He was a track coach that also coached football.
Okay.
He was amazing at both sports. He knew the ins and outs of both sports. He coached multiple kids to state in track and field. We had a hurdler, Reggie Harold, who ran at TCU, won state in the 110s. We had a shot putter that won state, went 62 in the shot put. So we had a lot of kids. I mean, if you look at our school records, a lot of them he coached. We had a 10-3, we had 20.4, my 400, we had 40.7 in the relay. So we had everything. Like, wow. He knew how to coach track, not just one event. He knew how to coach every event.
That's very cool.
So for me to just sit there and let him tell me what I'm doing, that was the best thing for me. And that's just how I was as an athlete. If a coach told me to do something, I was going to do it. I never questioned why they were telling me to do something. But Coach Nelson was good at telling me why I was doing the workout, what it's for. And the same thing happened with Coach Hart. Coach Hart did the same thing in college. He broke it down to, like, we would have the whole 400 group would have a meeting every week or every 2 weeks and explain, well, the reason why we're doing this workout today is because it works on this part of your race. The reason why we're doing this one tomorrow is because it helps out with this one. So, I was blessed to have coaches that were able to communicate with us and understand how to become a great athlete and how to get you there.
What year did you graduate high school?
2002. So
you're in a time still there where social media is not existent. So there wasn't any pressure. There wasn't any, you're looking at and you're seeing what the number one kid in California is running. Hey, coach, how come we're not doing that? There was none of that. It was just, I hate to say blind trust, but sometimes blind trust is a good thing.
At that time, we just had message boards. I think the biggest one at that time was Track Shark. And then we also had DieStat, who they had all the high school times out there. So, we kind of went on those sites and just see how things were going, especially in college for Track Shark. We were on there on a daily basis, talking on there. So, but it wasn't like it is now where, you see as soon as the result happens, it's up there. We had to wait a couple days to see once they finally uploaded everything. But, I was also fortunate enough to have somebody in Houston with Kelly Willie, who was running the same times I was. So we finished number 1 and 2 in the nation. He went 45.53 and I went 45.57.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
where are you at in Texas at this time?
I'm in the Dallas DFW area.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know Kelly was right. I guess that makes sense, because I'm trying to think, I was at Mississippi State in the 04-05 seasons. We had a kid that got second. I'm pretty sure to Daryl in 05. Yep. And so we were always, we were 301-ish in the 4x4. So we were always battling Baylor. And so I was just trying to remember LSU, so Kelly and Xavier and all those guys. Yeah, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible. So how did you get, and why did you choose to go to Baylor?
Well, it's kind of funny. So I was actually looking at going to college in both football and track. So I wanted to play football. So I was recruited at a couple schools. I went on a visit to Wisconsin, to Texas Tech, and to Baylor for both sports. And I went down, and on my visit to Baylor, the track team was actually, I believe, in Houston for a track meet. Coach Hart actually drove back home the night before I left, or the morning that I left. He left the team early to get back in time to talk to me before I left. That kind of showed me what type of coach he was, and that, the stuff we talked about on the phone wasn't just smoke. It was he was being who he is. I know we've talked about who Coach Hart is and how he is as a person, and it just, it's one of those things that when he tells you something, he's going to do it. And so we talked, and I had a great conversation with him, and I actually committed to play football at Baylor. And unfortunately, well, at the time, unfortunately, now fortunately, they had over committed, so they didn't have a scholarship anymore for me. So I had decided just to run track, and then I believe after spring practice, they called me back. The football coaches called me back and offered me a scholarship, and I told them give me a week. And 2 days later, they called back, and I just told them I was just going to run track. So,
So you got this sounds like a whirlwind, and things could have gone real south real fast. So
definitely.
let me make sure I heard you right. So Baylor offers, you say, okay, Baylor football offers. You're like, okay, I'm going to go play football and run track. They come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, we over offered. There is no offer for the table on the table for you. I could easily see, because Coach Hart's like, oh, good, I got a freebie. I got a football scholarship handling one of my quarter milers. This is great. This is what everybody would curse Baylor. It's like, you're getting a free, 400-meter runner. I could easily see Coach Hart saying, oh crap, I don't have a scholarship for you.
Actually, Coach Hart had told me that Coach Hart had offered me
Sure, yeah,
my junior year. So I already had that offer, and he already had that set aside just in case, because he didn't know what I was wanting to do. He didn't know if I was really going to go football or just the track. So I believe he had one on the side just in case. And fortunately for me, it worked out.
That's what I'm saying. I could see that going south fast, because we
It-
only
it-
get 12.6. It's hard to hold one.
And especially nowadays, with the transfer portal now, you're having to deal with kids transferring from a college to another college instead of high school kids that you're dealing with. So yeah, I was lucky.
That's cool.
Coach Hart had offered me, had one on the side just in case. It all worked out.
So you go to Baylor, and maybe part of the decision process for Baylor track and field was the lore and the tradition of Baylor as well, right? In regards to, 400-meter U, 4x4 U, Michael Johnson, and, there's a litany of, Dion Miners, Michael Fords. I mean, there's just so many. Marcus Boyd. I mean, there's just so many. The top 10 list has got to be just absolutely wacko there at Baylor. Did you, as you get on campus and you start fall practice, and you're kind of looking around like, all right, I know I'm good, but boy, these guys are good too. And maybe Michael Johnson walks on track one day and you're like, holy crap, that's Michael Johnson. Was there a stepping up into that pressure, or was there ever any doubts in your mind?
There were never any doubts. Coming in, I was the number 2 quarter miler coming in. Daryl obviously was the number 1. So I knew going in that for me to be number 1, I was going to have to work really hard. But at the same time, I knew I had a training partner that was going to push me. And so my goal was to make sure I do the same thing towards whoever I'm training with, that if they're pushing me, I got to push them back. I got to make sure that we're both on top. The 400 is individual, and I wanted to win. He wanted to win. My teammates wanted to win, but we also had to make sure that for the relay, we were all ready, and we were all at 100% and ready to run. So, for me to have somebody like Daryl as my training partner as a freshman, you don't get that often. You don't get athletes like him as training partners. And so I took full advantage of it. Every day, every rep, we worked out together. We ran the same reps together. It wasn't you're going to run first and then I'm running after you, or I'm running 50 meters behind you. It was, we stepped on the line next to each other, and we finished. One of us was finishing a couple steps ahead of the other one, or vice versa, or we were crossing the line right at the right time at the exact same time.
That's those are some intense practices. I can't imagine. It's some of that stuff you don't get until you go to a meet, and you're getting that every day at practice. Last week, Coach Ford talked to us. I want to see if this is a similar experience for you, that Coach Hart didn't really talk a lot about times and, setting this record or that record. It was more about, can you go out and run your best first leg? Can you go out and run your best second leg, et cetera, et cetera? Was that your experience with his coaching style towards you?
100%. 100%. I think that's his style with everybody, from the 80s all the way up to when he retired in 2005, 2006. He knew that if we all trained and we all ran at our best, the times would come. So he never said, we're going to go out there, we're going to try and break the school record, or we're going to try and break the national record. He just wanted to win. And he didn't care on the relay if we ran 3:04 and we won, or if we ran 3 flat and we won. he just wanted us to run out our best. And when we stepped on the track, that we knew that we were confident in ourselves, that we were going to win, and we would show it on the track. So I would agree with what Coach Ford said. That's just how Coach Hart was, and he's always been that way.
It's much easier to be a coach when everything is going well, when the athletes are healthy and happy and you're running fast, maybe you're setting records, things like that. You experienced some setback your freshman year. You came in with not only the program and the coaches had high expectations for you, but you yourself had high expectations coming in as well. How was Coach Hart and maybe the other coaches that you worked with there during the time? How was it when you were not at your best, when you were injured? That's a little bit more frustration potentially for a coach, and then also for the athlete.
Yeah, it as an athlete, it was very frustrating for me. Like I said, and my first injury happened at nationals indoors. Came out of the blocks of the finals of the 400, hamstring cramp, or my quad cramped up, and still finished the race, and ended up finding out that I strained my quad really bad, almost tore it. So I had to refocus. I had to take some time off. And then came out early, first outdoor season, first meet that I actually ran, and went 45-1. So I was like, all right, perfect. I'm where I left off. I got faster than what I did in high school, so I'm good. And then another injury happened. Then I hurt my foot at conference, and I just couldn't stay healthy. But Coach Hart and Coach Ford was also one of my coaches at the time. They didn't panic. They didn't get upset. They didn't get mad. They made sure that I understood that I was still valuable, that, I go get treatment, go do this, you'll be fine. Everything will fall into place. So I took a couple of days off. I still trained. I still practiced. I didn't change anything. I just dealt with the pain. But they were making sure that I was seeing the trainers. They were making sure I was working out after each rep. How you feeling? Are you good? Do you think you can do another one? If not, we'll alter the workout. So Coach Hart and Coach Ford both were great at making sure that if we were hurt, they were monitoring it. It wasn't just get off the track, go do something else, or we'll find somebody else. They were making sure that we were good mentally and physically.
Sounds like they coached and valued you as a person over a cog in the machine of 8 points at conference and a great leg on the 4x4. It's Jeremy first, not 44 point first.
When people talk about Baylor as being a family, that is 100% true. We are a family. When we're down there, when we're practicing, when you're on the team, we are one. It's not just who can get us the most points at conference or the most points at nationals. They want a certain person, and they want a certain type of person, and we all mesh well together. We really never had any issues as a team, like personal issues between athletes. We meshed real well. We worked out real well. We all were striving for the same goal. We wanted to win. We wanted to win the relay. We wanted to win individually. I think some of us knew it was kind of hard for us to win as a team, like team points, just because we didn't have the numbers that the public, like the Texas and the A&Ms and the LSUs have and Florida's have, being that we're a private school, so and higher tuition. So you throw all that, it's harder to get more athletes on less scholarships. But we knew that if we get our top people to nationals, we had a chance at placing there. I think in 2004, we ended up placing 5th as a team at nationals. Didn't do good at Big 12s, didn't have the number, but went to nationals and placed top 5. And so, it didn't matter that going to nationals matters the quality. So we ended up, we ran as a family, and that's just how it is at Baylor, and it's always been that way. My daughter's experiencing it right now. She's come to say the same thing. My wife said the same thing when we went on a visit for her visit, and it's just nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is the head coach, but Coach Ford is still running that program. He's tweaked it to his style, but it's still being ran the same way that Coach Hart ran it and Coach Harbor ran it. So nothing's really changed, but he's thrown his twist into it and made it his program, but it's still a family, just like it was back when I was running.
That's what I mentioned to him last week. Baylor is so loyal. Coach Hart was there forever, and then a Baylor alum, a Baylor great, Todd Harbour takes over, and then he retires, and then Baylor alum, Baylor great Mike Ford takes. I mean, it's just there's something special when alums are there, and they're there throughout their entire. Harbour was there forever. Ford feels like he's been there forever, and at this point will continue. I mean, it is it's a little different there.
Yeah, it definitely is, and Coach Stacy Smith, she's there. She jumped at Baylor when Coach Ford was there, so they were kind of teaming towards, I think, the end of his is when she started. So she was a coach when I was at Baylor. So we've got a couple coaches still on the staff that had competed there. So yeah, it is a family, and the coaches strive for that. The coaches want to continue that legacy, but they also want to turn it into their own program and do things a little different, which I see, and it's working. And but they're still having the same core values that the program has always had.
Yeah, that's a great point. The core values, absolutely. So, Jeremy, after Baylor, when you go pro, and you had a long, really amazing professional career. Heck, and still today, you are, I think, the number 3 quarter miler ever, right? I think it's Wade, Michael, and you. Who am I missing?
Butch.
Who?
Butch.
Oh, but thank God I don't ever see him or he'd get mad at me. That's right. All right, number 4. I've been telling everybody in the office today, hey, I got the number 3. Yeah, okay, now I got to go back and tell everybody. It's only 4. It's not that.
I'm actually tied at number 4 with Michael Norman.
Yeah, that's still 4th. That's not, there's no tie. It's still 4th, baby. Absolutely. That's right. And you had maybe a couple of coaches during that professional time, but on the teams that you had, I'm interested in this aspect with you in regards to coaching. You made many, many different teams for Team USA, and there's always a team coaching staff. And typically that, they're called coaching staff, but they're not, unless they're their personal coach, they're not really coaching. They're more managing. I'm not taking away from what they do, because there's still strategy and, mentorship that goes on. But as far as they're not going to take a Jeremy Wariner and go, well, we're going to do my program during this time. It's like, no, what does your coach need you to do? And I'll help facilitate that and help things like that. But you do have on these coaches staffs, these world champ staffs, Olympic staffs, really experienced, unbelievable coaches. Can you talk to me about what role they might have played, the different, team coaching staffs, sprint coaches? I'm thinking that, maybe they said something, you'd heard something, a coach, maybe Coach Hart said something the same way every year, and it made sense, but it just didn't click for you. And then a coach said the exact same thing, but in a different way, or you were in a different headspace. You were at the Olympics instead of on Waco's campus. Talk to us about the role of those kind of coaches as it relates to an elite athlete.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard because, going into the Olympics during practice and at the meet, warming up for the races, we're still with our personal coaches. They're really there just as, like you said, as mentors, as, if you need anything, let me know, I can grab it for you. Stay with your coach, make sure that you have what you need. If the coach can't be there, hey, they'll talk to the coach. They know all the coaches, obviously. So, they communicate well with each other. Hey, can you make sure he does this? Can you make sure he does that? So they're there as a backup, just for no matter what it is, whether it's, hey, I can't get to him this day. Can you make sure he does this workout? Or it's, hey, he's not quite understanding what I'm saying on mentally, mental focus or whatever it could be. Can you kind of help guide him with that same spot? So they're willing, they're not there just to say, hey, I'm the head coach for the Olympic team. It's my way. It's, hey, coach, if you need any help, I'm here. I'll be right over here. Just holler at me. I'll do what I can. Just let me know if you ever need anything. So, it's that type of atmosphere in the Olympic Village and at practices for us. But the thing that I remember for me was in 2004, we were trying to figure out the relay order for the finals, and Coach George Williams was the head relay coach and head coach at that time. And, he came up to me, and we had talked a little bit previously before the Olympics started. and we were actually in somewhere in Munich, running in Munich, Germany, and he brought us all together. He brought Daryl. He's like, hey, I'm gonna put both y'all on 3 and 4. He was like, I'm gonna let y'all choose what leg y'all want to run. He's like, I know you. He's like, Jeremy, I know you've been running 3rd leg all year. Daryl, I know you've been running 4th leg. He's like, you're only here for relay. Jeremy's here individually. If y'all want to switch it, I'm fine with it. It's however y'all want to do it. And me and Daryl talked, and we talked for like 30 seconds, and I was like, keep it the way we've been running. We've been running 3-4 all year. There's no reason why we should change that. Our handoffs have been flawless all season. We know each other. I know he knows how I come in down the last 30-40 meters. I know how he takes out the first few steps. So I know where his hand is going to be every single time. So I think for me personally, comfort level, I wanted to keep it the same. I didn't care about running anchor leg at that time. It didn't bother me. My main goal was for us to win, and changing it, no telling what could have happened. I've ran a couple. Daryl's ran a couple 3rd legs. I ran a couple anchor legs, and but we were comfortable running 3rd, me 3rd, him 4th. So we just kept it that way. And for a head coach to come to us and let us make that decision, it shows what type of coach he is. It wasn't, hey, I'm making a decision, this is what it's going to be. It was, hey, I know y'all have been working together all year. What are your thoughts? He got our input, and we told him, let's keep it the way we've been running. And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. 2 great examples from that story. One, and George Williams, by the way, podcast alum. If you haven't listened to his episode, you got to go. He is amazing. What a treasure, honestly, that man is. What a great example that you pointed out with him of, not the my way is the highway. It's like, hey, we want to do what's best. Well, these guys know each other better than I know these 2. Why don't I ask them their opinion? And then also, honestly, from you, Jeremy, I don't know if it's American culture or if it's track and field culture, but the anchor leg is the big daddy. That's where your stud goes. That's where the champion goes, however you want to say it. So for you to, drop ego and be like, well, hey, we might still win if I move to the anchor where I'm, air quotes here, supposed to be. But boy, we have done this me to you exchange 1,000 times. Let's not screw this up. Let's go win. Daryl, you take the anchor. Like, that was a great example of you as well as showing selflessness there. Yeah. Where if you would have said, no, I'm the champion, I want to be the anchor, no one would have faulted you either, by the way. No one would have said, what a bird brain idea, decision. It'd been like, oh, okay, well, that's what he's earned it. You hear that a lot. He's earned it. But what a great decision making process there for you, Jeremy. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to talk about coaching, but before I do, I promised myself I'd had to ask you a question. You mentioned the message boards earlier, and you mentioned Track Shark, which was my all-time favorite. Miss Tom Borish in Track Barn so much. What a great, fantastic, maybe the best track website we've ever had, at least in my time frame. I guess my time frame encompasses all internet now that I think about it. But anyway, on the message boards repeatedly, and even in the the offline chat. So, me hanging out with a bunch of coaches and stuff, George Williams taught us an important lesson. His motto is, if you're not in the huddle, you don't know the play. It's a really great thing to learn if you want to judge less. So if you don't know what's going on in that camp, if you don't know what's going on in that school with that athlete, you don't know. You're not over there. So you have no idea what's going on over there, right?
Exactly.
But it's real easy to judge and say, man, Jeremy, I know you're a successful quarter miler. Gosh bless, you're still the 4th fastest this world has ever seen. Let that sink in for a second. That's really amazing. But man, if you would have ran the 800, you could have been world record. I mean, I can't tell you. I bet if I go search Let's Run right now, there are 100 threads that talk about you would have been the greatest 800-meter runner ever. Did you ever think about running the 800? And I'm gonna pause there because I got the last question before we go into coaching. Did you ever think about running that? Was that ever in discussion for you?
No, never was in discussion. I mean, I've read all the boards. I've read it all. I just sit there and laugh. I had no desire to run the 8.
None.
None. I didn't want to do those workouts.
You didn't even want to like, maybe let me just
No.
see like some dual meet. Let me just find nothing.
No, never. No desire. I knew what type of training I had to do for the 400, and I've seen Baylor 800 runners, the workouts they had to do. I didn't want to do those workouts. They're ridiculous. They're crazy. You know, like 10 400 repeats. I don't want to run 10 400 repeats. Uh, I didn't want to do that, and I had no desire. Do I look back and say, what if? No, not at all. Not at all.
I thought you were about to give some great nugget right there. You're like, do I look back? I'm like, oh, here we go. No, not at all. No,
Not at all.
Still to this day, you're like, no, there's no alternate universe where it's like, oh,
No.
Jeremy Wariner is the 800 meter champ.
Nope, not at all.
All right. This next question then is, I will 100% give you permission to say no answer. Like you just said, you know what? I'm not even answer. If you would have trained for the 800, how fast do you think you would have run?
I don't know. I ran 1 800 my whole career, my whole life, and that was 2016. I had started training late, and so it was the weekend of Texas relays. I was at Texas State running, and it was more for training purposes. That's all it was. And I think I went 153, and it hurt. It hurt. Do I think I would have broke the world record? No, I doubt it. Do I think I could? I think I could have, maybe if I trained for it and I did it the right way. I think I would have got down to low 144, high 143s. Anything faster than that? Probably not. I doubt it.
You said you ran 153 and it hurt. And if you're watching on YouTube, his face too, you could like, he still feels that pain a little bit. Yeah. Your PR is what in the 400?
43.4.
Did 153 hurt more than 43.4 hurt?
Yes. Yes. I was good for the first 400, got to the 400, and in my head, I said, what the hell am I doing? Why am I here? And then I see everybody, they're slowly making their moves down the backstretch. I'm like, okay, I can't. So I end up mentally finally getting back into the race. And then at 600, I'm like, all right, I got to go. I got 200 left. I got to go. I started moving, and I started slowly picking a couple people up, ended up winning my heat. But I finished the race, and I was laid out for about 30 minutes. And after a 400, I could walk right off. Didn't matter how fast I ran. I could walk right off, go straight to the call room, go do interviews, no problems. After that 800, I was done. I couldn't move. Yeah.
Now, there is a very strong, healthy masters track and field scene. You still have a chance to do this 800, bud.
No, I'm done. I'm done running for the rest of my life. I rarely do it on my own right now, as just to stay in shape. No, I'm not going to do it. Nope, not going to do it.
All right. You hear to hear. We ain't get no masters, Jeremy Wariner. I hear you. All right, Jeremy. So as you were going through college, getting your degree, and we'll, maybe with the answer, give us what your degree was in, and you're running professionally, what was the thought of your career? Did you think, after I get done with the athletic side, I'm going to go become a banker or, business owner? Or did you think about coaching? Where was coaching at all in your mind during this time? And tell me what your major was as well.
So when I turned professionally after my sophomore year, I stopped going to classes. Okay. So, my first few years, I didn't really have a major. It was kind of more along the lines of general studies. And so I took a lot of time off on that, but I knew after I was done running that I wanted to get into coaching, and I wanted to also do broadcasting. I wanted to do one of the two things. And so once I retired, I took a couple of years off, and then my wife actually knew one of her, I guess. So my wife's an attorney. So one of the lawyers she was going against in a case that she knew real well, his kids went to Parish Episcopal in Dallas. And so he was like, hey, if he wants a job, I can talk to the AD and see if we can get him coaching there. So that's how I got started there. That's how I was able to get in the door at my first job at Parish. Went on as an assistant. But I think I always wanted to coach. A lot of it goes all the way back to high school with my high school coach, with Coach Nelson, and also my assistant coach, Gary Bearden. Just the way they coached us, and how the relationship I had with those two, and then get to college and with Coach Ford and Coach Hart and Coach Stacy, the relationships that we had and how they coached us, and how they didn't just none of my coaches treated me as just another number. And they didn't do that with any athlete. They have relationships with a lot of their athletes. I still talk to Coach Nelson to this day. We don't talk as much as we used to, but we call at least every other month just to see how each other are doing. He follows me, we follow each other on Facebook and stuff like that. And obviously me and Coach Hart, me and Coach Ford talk all the time. So I wanted to kind of continue those types of legacies, and I wanted to be that same type of coach. So I always wanted to go back into coaching. I wanted to give back, and what I learned from them, I wanted to give back to the high school kids that I coach. So it's kind of how I got to where I am now.
I forgot your wife was a lawyer. I love how and maybe it's not like this, but I think of like, the defense and the prosecutor lawyer as like rivals. And it may not actually be like that at all. But I like how the competing lawyer is the one that is like, hey, well, my kid goes to parish fiscal. Yeah, like that's just kind of funny to me. We talk, I shouldn't say we talk a lot about, there's a talk going on amongst coaches about good athletes becoming coaches. And there's this, I don't say it's divided 50-50, but there's certainly, typically someone is on one side or the other. There's one side of if you didn't do the event or the sport, then you can't coach it because you don't know what it feels like to run the quarter. So how in the world can you coach it? Things like that. Now that has been, disproved a million times. There's many, many amazing coaches who never ran their event or did their sport, for crying out loud. So that's been proven the other side. The other side is, elite athletes, not even elite, really good athletes struggle becoming coaches because a lot of times it came easy to them. And it certainly, you ran 50-point right off the bat. So I think it's fair to say it came, I know you didn't run 44 off the bat, but boy, your first time you run a 50-point, that, there's plenty of people who have run 44 and 45 who started at 60-point for their first quarter. So it came a little natural to you. You had some God-given talent there and then had to nurture that talent through coaching. But good athletes will be frustrated as coaches because it's not coming naturally to the athletes. So you got to actually coach and things like that. How did you find coaching when you step on that track, and while you may not that day have been able to run 43-point, you had run 43-point, and you got a bunch of kids that, heck, they might have been 70-point quarter milers when you got them. How did you find that transition of, I got to meet them where they are and then help them become better?
I've learned a lot over these last few years. Going in, I was nervous. I didn't know. I volunteered at Baylor, but I really wasn't volunteering at Baylor. I was out there. I was training at the same time. I was really just helping Coach Hartworth and Coach Ford where they needed me, if they needed me. But I think what helped me was I understood that I have to learn. I can't just go out there and be like, well, I'm Olympic gold medalist. I know what I'm doing. I didn't. I had to do research. I had to talk to Coach Hart. I had to talk to Coach Ford. I had to talk to my high school coach, talk to other coaches. Hey, what are the things that work for you that don't work? Or what are the things that you find that didn't work? And, it's kind of how Coach Hart coached. A lot of our core workouts had been the same from the 80s all the way up till he retired. But he would try new things here and there. He would find a workout that somebody else is doing. He's like, hey, we're going to try this today. If he didn't like it, or if we didn't like it, he'd throw it away. If we liked it, if we felt like it worked and he felt like it worked, he'll keep it. So it wasn't just, I've been doing this for so long, I know what I'm doing. Coach Hart always was studying. He was always trying to learn something new. He had told me one year, it was like 45 years of coaching at that time, or 50, close to that. And he was just like, I've been coaching for a long time. He's like, I don't know everything. And I'm sitting there like, you do realize what you have done over the years. And it's just like, how do you not know everything? And he was just like, there's always something new to learn every year. whether it's a new workout or recovery, or hey, taking Wednesdays off instead of the weekends. Give them a day off to help their body recover. They'll it'll benefit later in the season. So little things like that I took with me, and understood that if I want to be a great coach, I have to learn. I can't just rely on what I've done in the past. Now I can use my experience of, hey, I've been there. I know what you're going through. I know how to coach them through certain things. I can do that. But when it comes to workouts, I have to go on. I have to go to classes. I have to do, USATF level 1, level 2, or go to coaching conventions and understand and talk to other coaches and see what they're doing, see what works, and just and be a student of coaching and not just an athlete.
It's striking to me, Jeremy, and now that I think back to our dinner in Albuquerque as well, when you were still an athlete, the facade, someone looking from the outside that doesn't know Jeremy, it's easy to think that there was a lot of ego there, the classes, and you're winning everything and you're gold medalist, for crying out loud. It's easy to think, oh, this guy is cocky. But you're giving us examples like the relay example with Daryl. And now if you had stepped on that track at Parrish and been like, hey, I am Jeremy friggin' Wariner. I have done X, Y, and Z. I know it all. We're going to go run blah, 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 blah. Like, no one would have faulted you. But to have that posture of like, all right, look, I know I did the workouts, but I have not given the workout, especially for this group, this age and stage. So let me go call Mike. Let me go call Clyde. Let me go call these guys and say, hey, help me see the other side of this. Now I've been on this side, the go run this side. Now I've got to go coach these events. That's really amazing. Where does that, that kind of posture? I don't know that that's innate, that it's just automatically into us. It has to be, I think, modeled to us. Where does that kind of, humbleness come from? You told us some of the coaches and their attitudes. It certainly seems like you were modeled there, but family, teachers.
Yeah, I have to say my parents really. They've always worked for what they've gotten. They weren't handed anything. They worked their whole life. They're still working now, and they've always made sure that me and my brother and my sister, that we work hard for what we want. If we want it, we got to work for it. It's not going to just be handed to you. And so I kept that, and I understood it. And then just all my coaches I've had growing up through high school, through college, it's, if we want something, you got to work for it. And they instilled the same thing in me. It's like, if you want to run 45 in high school, you got to work for it. It's not just natural talent. It's a combination. You got to have both. You can't just have the talent and not the work ethic. You can't just have the work ethic and not the talent. You got to have both. To be great, you have to work at it. And it doesn't matter, like as a coach, it doesn't matter if you were a part of the sport growing up or not. If you work at it, you understand it, you can be successful. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there in a lot of sports that have never played football, but they're coaching, never ran track, but they're college coaches, they're professional coaches. It's just how you study, it's how you break down, it's how you work. And then at the same time, you gotta get lucky, and you gotta have that one athlete, that shows that what you're doing is working. Obviously not everybody has that opportunity, but there's a lot of high school coaches that they don't want to go to the next level, but they know what they're doing, but they want to be where they're at because the work ethic of high school kids is, they're trying to get to college. They're trying to be great. They want to be the best in their school. They want to be the best in their state. So, just them growing up, and you can mold them a certain way and teach them a little bit before they get to the next level. So, do I want to go to college? I think at one point I might want to, but right now I'm loving where I'm at. I'm loving high school kids. I love coaching high school kids. They ask questions. They're interested in wanting to get better. They want to know what they're doing wrong. And I had a kid last year. He was a football kid running track, and he took it on himself to study film from Asafa Powell and Bolt and Gatling, and on just for his start. And, he came to me, he was like, "Hey coach, can we work on my start? I know we're not practicing today, but can we work?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go." So we went out there, got the blocks out and started working on the start, videoed it, showed him what he was doing wrong. And this was like mid-season. It was right around spring break, and, ended up making it, missing state by one spot. So, it was, or did he might have made state. He either missed it by one spot or he made it. And ended up dropping a little over half a second off his time from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. But it's just his work ethic is what I enjoyed. Athletes like that make me want to continue coaching.
It would be very easy for you. And again, if you were a 45-second PR quarter miler, that's amazing to me. Like, I remember, especially coaching at Mississippi State, we ran 3 flat and change. And like, I was just in awe of those guys and gals, I guess guys, my girls did not run 3 flat there. No one start checking results. Trust me, we weren't that good on the women's side for that. But the men were running 3 flat change, 3-1. And I remember just being in awe of them. I remember when Jamel got second to Daryl it's just fantasy land of what they're running. And for me, who, I couldn't make it around a lap, no matter how long you gave me, it'd be easy for you, someone who's, again, top of the top, to look at these high school kids and be disappointed. I mean, every practice session we talked about with Daryl and Boyd and all those guys was a dogfight. I mean, you're practicing with killers, 44-point, 43-point guys all day. And here you got kids that are, chugging along at 60s and 70s. How have you checked that ego and, again, met the kids where they are? Not everybody, I mean, gosh, quote unquote, no one's going to be the next 43-point quarter mile guy. It's a 1 in a billion thing. How do you meet them where they are and focus on them, how you were treated, focused on them in the avenue of helping them improve whatever their event might be?
I think a lot of it is I just want them to improve. It doesn't matter how fast they're running. I want them to be happy. I want them to love being out there. Mm-hmm. I used when I was at practice, it was my safe space. And anything going on in my personal life, I threw it out the window. When I'm on the track, that's all I'm worried about. And it was kind of a place where I could relax. Mm. I know it's kind of hard to say relax while you're at practice, but mentally I was able to relax. And it gave me a couple hours out of the day knowing that I'm not stressing about anything. And so it's kind of I kind of want that for my kids, for my athletes that I coach. I don't want them to come out there and have to stress about their classwork or stress about their home life or anything. I want them to just go out there and have fun. And so when we're practicing, we have fun when we're at practice. We're serious, but at the same time, we have fun. That's cool. I got that from Coach Hart. Mm-hmm. The thing with Coach Hart was like a kid at practice.
Really?
He would throw water in the air and it would just he would walk by us and have a cup of water. And he'd just throw the water up in the air. It would just fall on us. And he's just like, you just look up in the sky and be like, it's raining. There's no clouds in the sky. It's 105 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's Waco. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Waco. And, that's just how Coach Hart was. And it made it fun for us at practice. We knew he was about to kill us, but he made it fun before practice and after practice. And, so that's what I'm trying to get with these kids, is let them know, I'm not here. I don't care if you're going to be a 10-1 kid or an 11-5 kid. It doesn't matter. My goal is if you come in running an 11-9, I want you to run at least 11-8 or faster. Time you're done. That means you've improved. You worked at it. If you didn't improve, is it on me? It could be. Is it on? Did you come to practice every day? Did you do what you needed to do? If you did, then something didn't work, and I got to figure out what that was. But if you improved, we're on the right path. We're doing what we're doing. And did you have fun? Did you want to be out here? Did you enjoy coming to practice? I've seen kids not want to go to practice, and when you get to that point mentally, it's not fun. You don't want to be there. And late in my career, I got to that point where I didn't want to be out there anymore. Mentally, I didn't want to be there. It wasn't fun anymore. And so that's when I decided to retire. The years I loved it and the years I was having fun, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be at practice. And so I want those kids to have that same experience that I had. And it's not just about the competition. It's about the family, they trust me. I trust them. They trust their friends. They trust their teammates. They trust the other coaches. It's, we're all one. I don't want them to come out there and be like, I don't want to be around this one person. Don't things like that. I don't want that around. I don't like that atmosphere. And high school kids don't need to be around that. They need to be wanted. They need to be happy. They need to enjoy it. It's high school. It's what you need to enjoy your high school years. You want to look back and say, man, I had a great time in high school. I love this coach, or I love this teacher. I enjoyed doing this. You don't want to look back and say, I had a horrible high school year. Right. So that's kind of why I don't care what their personal bests are. I just want them to, as long as they're having fun and they're improving, it's a success. That's all that matters to me.
So you started at Parish Episcopal and now you're at Liberty Christian. Did you coach your daughter?
No, I did not. She was at Frisco Liberty, which is public school. So I'm in the private school area section.
So I always wonder with my kid, if he chooses to do track in high school, he's doing it in middle school, and son and daughter, if they go to high school, if they start doing track, I always wondered because of, I got fairly high level with my coaching. So, at least I've forgotten a lot of things, but I still, kind of know some things, right? I always wonder, can I sit in the stands at practice and just shut up? Like, as long as everything's safe, can I just, they're the coach, let them be the coach. If they ask for my help, they have no clue who I am, right? When you were sitting in the stands for your daughter, I know she was maybe jumping, not sprinting, but still, were there ever, coaches looking over their shoulder like, oh man, dad's watching, crap. Yeah, oh God, he's walking down the okay, good. He's going to his car. Like, was there ever because it's hard not to know who you are for crying out
loud. No, there was never anything like that. I let the coaches coach.
Good.
That's what they're there for. They're being paid to be the coach. I'm not being paid to be, I'm not going to be the dad coaching from the stands. I was never at her practices. When she went to her private coach for jump practice, me and him, we talked all the time, but I would sit in the car and let her do her thing. I'd go to the meets and I'll see how she's doing. If her jump coach couldn't be there, I'd video it, send it to him. I understood. I don't know a lot about jumping, but I know the basics. Mm-hmm. I can tell if she's collapsing. I can tell if she's off the board, needs to move up, move back. Get your knees up. I know the basics. So if he couldn't be there, I'd video it. I'd change it based on what I see, or I'd send him the video. He would tell me what to tell her. So little things like that. But I never wanted to be that dad that, I know more than you.
Yeah.
My life. She's at her school for a reason. If I wanted to coach her, she would have went to Parish.
Yeah.
That's flat out the case.
It's still TBD if I'm going to be as good as you. I still we'll see, man. I hope he does like the throws, because I know nothing about it, so I can't say jack about the throws.
It's hard. Yeah. It is hard. I'll say that. She would come home or she would text me about their workouts that day, and I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, why? Like, why are they doing these type of work? Because some of the workouts were outrageous, in my opinion. And I'm like, why? But I would never go to her coach and say, hey, right, you don't need to do these workouts. They're not what it is.
Was it ever hard for you? She was a jumper, that she wasn't running the quarter?
No,
not at all.
Do I think she could have? Maybe. She ran a couple relays. She would run the 4x2. She ran the 4x1. Ran a open 100 one time. In middle school, she ran the 4. She ran the 4x4 also, and she did real well. But she fell in love with jumping, and like I said, I just want them to be happy. My same way with my athletes, with my kids, I want them to be happy. She loved it. She loved jumping as much as I loved running before. So I'm not going to I would never force her to change events or, hey, why don't you try this? As much deep down, I always told her, you're going to run. At some point, you're going to run. And I joke with her now, like, you're going to run a 4x4 at Baylor. It's what happens. Like, when I was at Baylor, we had a pole vault 4x4 at our home meet. Everybody ran at least one relay, and I keep telling her that. So I'm hoping Coach Ford continues that tradition that we did.
Mike Ford started out as a long jumper who was kind of a backup 4x4 guy. And then somebody got hurt, and then he ran the 4x4 and ran a good split. And they're like, well, maybe you're actually a quarter mile. So yeah. Don't think just because you're in the sand pit that you're just free willy here on the 4x4. It's generationally, it's easy for us. And when I say generationally, meaning when you become 30 plus and 40 plus and 50 plus, for us to blame a lot on younger generation. They're lazy, blah, blah, blah. You insert whatever the technology of that decade is. That's why, kids are lazy because everybody has a TV now, or kids are lazy because we have cars. Now in today's world, kids are lazy because they have social media and whatever, AI, all this kind of stuff, right? And so in track and field, we always say, I guarantee they said this about you when you were an athlete. They said it about me when I was an athlete. Our grandpas, they said it about them when they were athletes. We say it today, that these kids, they don't study the sport like I used to, which is just totally bogus, by the way. They don't know who the stud person in their event is. So two questions. Do the kids you coach know who the heck you were? I say were, you know what I mean? You still are, but you know what I mean? And two, do they know today's, whatever event they are, do they know who the stud people are today?
So to answer the first one, I don't think they knew who I was at first. But once they announced, like when I first got there, I don't think they really understood. But then they knew who I was, and then they joked about it all the time. They'd come up and get on like Instagram Live and say, "Hey, oh my gosh, it's Olympic gold medalist," and just mess with me all day long.
That's good. That's cool that they have that fun with you. Yeah.
At track meets, they do the same thing. They still do it now. Even the ones that have graduated, when they come up to me, they'll have their phone out and just mess with me.
Because I would pee my pants if my coach was a Jeremy Wariner. I'd be like, oh my God, you know how hard workouts are obviously going to be? Like this guy's going to kill us because he's going to expect us to be 43 point, So I would be, I'd be like, I better go play baseball, man. I don't think this is going to work out. That's cool.
Yeah. So I think some of them knew who I was, but I don't think they really knew who I was. They knew I was an Olympian. They knew I got gold medals, but they never really knew who I was until they went back and started looking. And then to answer the second question, I think a lot of them, I think the ones that are serious about it, yes, they know the Noah Lyles, they know them, they know the big names. But the ones that don't really, they just do track just because it's something to do. I don't think they really know, but the ones that are serious about it, I think they know. They know Sydney, they know Noah, they know a thing, they know all those people. They watch it. It's on TV more now than it was when I was in high school. So that's a positive that it's on TV more. We're getting more exposure. But I think, like I said, I think the serious ones, I think they do. Do they really know what I did? I think the more they look it up, then they come to realize it. But before I got here, did they really know? No.
It's certainly easier to know who the top dogs are today because of social media. When you were in high school, and I graduated in 94, so way before you, we had track and field news. We had newspapers that maybe would print the results of the Olympics. You just didn't know who the studs were. They didn't exist because there was no social media. Now I can pick up my phone and I can tell you the last race results within seconds after it happened, and what Fred Curley's doing for his workout today because he posted it, and know what he's wearing today. It's definitely, there's definitely less excuses not to know who the big dogs are today. That's for sure.
And now because of all that, the face. You see what they look like. We knew the names.
That's a good point.
Like back then, if someone said so and so's name, I'd be like, I don't. And he's right there. Oh, I didn't know that. Like for instance, my junior year at state, I saw the name Daryl Williamson. He was a senior, I was a junior. So I didn't know who he was. He walked up. I had no idea he was standing next to me. That my number one competitor is standing right next to me. I had no idea until we were in the call room and they're like, Daryl Williamson. He was like, here. I was like, okay,
oh.
So now I know what you look like. So, but nowadays it's you see the results right away. So somebody's videoing it and posting it. Matthew Bowling went 999. Bang! It's out there.
It was everywhere. Yeah, absolutely.
So little things like that. That's just it's great for the sport. It's great for these kids. And I wish it was like that for us. I wish we had stuff like this back then. But it's part of growing up.
There's at least video of you out on YouTube. There is
Yeah.
nothing. Thank God, there is nothing of my competitions out there at all. I'm going to tell you, I was a 1:43 half miler, and you just have to believe it because you can't prove I'm not. So let's talk real quick as we start to wind down here. You were started Episcopal Parish. Now you're at Liberty Christian. Why the change? I think I know why, but let's hear it from you.
Well, at Parish was they were big in football. I coached football while I was there. I was also coaching PE for third grade to eighth grade, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. But I think I wanted to get to a program where they were more serious about track and field. I had kids. The reason why I had those kids at Parish was because I was coaching another sport, and I was getting them out there. I had the relationships with them. That's why they were out there, because I built those relationships. Here, I got, I looked at, so here's kind of a difference between the two schools. So they're actually, Parish was a 6A. We're currently a 5A. So we're one division below. I had roughly 40, 45 kids total, boys and girls on my team. Currently, right now, I have about 104.
Wow.
So I have almost more girls than I had a team last year.
Right.
So I have a full team. Like, we're at a point right now where we're trying to figure out who's not going to be able to go to a meet because we only get 3 entries per event.
Right.
So we're at that part. And then at the same time, we actually have an indoor season. So that's going to be new for me. We're starting November 6th for practice. Wow. The last 4 or 5 years, I was starting February 1st for practice. So I'm getting off-season training. So it's almost like I'm at a college right now. I've got the numbers, I've got the kids. It's just the support here has been amazing. I'm loving it. I wanted something new. And I wanted to be a part of a program where it's not just about one sport and it's about all the sports. And I think that's where I'm at right now. I got a great coaching staff, had an amazing coaching staff where I was before. I loved them. We still talk on a daily basis with them. But I think it was just, I wanted more than what I had at the time. I had great athletes, loved them. They worked hard. They listened, and I'm hoping that these kids here are going to do the same thing and follow along with what they did, and nothing changes. It's just the name of the school that's changing for me. I got a lot of great athletes coming in that are here currently. Had a kid went 10.5 last year at state. A hurdler, he ran at 400 hurdles up for the first time over the summer and ended up getting down, I think, to 56, 55 in the fours as a sophomore. So we're hoping he's going to get around 37, 38 in the threes this year. And then I got a jumper. She's working with my daughter's jump coach now. So he thinks she's going to be right around 39 in the triple, and she's never really tripled before. So overall, we got a good team. Last year, they got second at state by 4 points.
Oh,
and so I think we only lost like 2 or 3 people. So we got the same team coming back. So I think we have a chance to win state this year on the boys side. Girls side, we're rebuilding at the moment, but we have the numbers. We have the athletes that want to be here, that want to compete. And it's just not, I had a few of those at Parish where I was, they wanted to be out there, but then I had a lot of them that were just doing it for PE credit. And, it kind of, as a coach, it kind of hurts because you want to build a program and you want to show the success of these kids and you want them to run well. But when you have kids that only show up one day a week and then they don't come to the meets because they don't have to, it hurts as a coach. You're like, well, are you really a good coach? Or why is your team why don't you have a big team? I'm like, well, I have what I have, and the ones I have, they're amazing. And so now I'm at a program where I don't think we have as many as those. We have a lot of kids in all of our sports that they're out here because they want to be good. They want it. They want to be on a team that's successful, and they listen. So I'm hoping that I can continue what they did last year and just continue pushing this team forward.
And it's hard not to compare, but this question is not a comparison in the sense of Episcopal is bad and Liberty Christian good. But what I want to ask here is, things seem to be coming up a lot of roses right now, 100+ kids. That's amazing. And amazing coaching staff. You had that at Episcopal as well. Maybe a little bit more support for the track specific program. How do you keep yourself grounded in the sense of like, how do you continue to, I need to get better at coaching this, I need to get better at organizing here, I need to get better at my staff direction, whatever. How do you continue doing that when things look really good today at Liberty Christian?
Well, I think so, is because I don't know what's going to happen.
Mm.
I know what they did last year. I know what they can do, but if I don't come out there and I don't learn myself and I don't get better, they're not going to get better. If I don't talk with my staff and had a good relationship with my staff, and we're not meshing and we're butting heads every day, the kids are going to see it and they're not going to be out there. So I got to make sure that I have a good relationship with my staff, and I got to make sure that I go out there with a positive attitude every day, and that I'm working, and that when I'm not out there on the track, I'm working still trying to figure out, hey, this workout didn't work. What do we want to change? Or this kid, hey, I know you were here last year. What did this kid do last year? And what did y'all do last year that didn't work? What worked? One of my coaches, he has a spreadsheet of all the workouts they did last year.
Wow.
For a certain event. So he sent that to me my very first day I got hired. So the communication has been great. I know I think it was the 400, 800 group did last year. I know what they did. I'm not going to change much because it worked. So I'm going to just kind of slowly build in this little things that I like to do and just kind of tweak the program just a little bit. I mean, why change stuff that's been working? If it's working, don't fix. It's that motto.
So wrap us up here today, Jeremy. You answered this question a little bit, but add some shout outs here. So we almost called this the Gill shout out track podcast because I just love, dropping great coaches' names. So one, give us shout outs of your coaching staff that you have. And even, not even just your coaching staff, obviously, yes, your coaching staff, but I know, and this, nothing gets done by just the coaching staff. I mean, they're a big key, and they get the all-state mentions and stuff like that for coaching, yada yada. But it takes a village, right? So administration, parents, etc. Give us kind of a shout out of people that support you there at Liberty Christian, and at the same token of, and like I said, you answered this one a little bit here, but what's got you excited as you look forward to 2024 track season? What's got you excited there at Liberty Christian?
Well, first, the one that reached out to me first her name is Ashley Kelly. She is our associate AD but she's also one of our track coaches. I met her a few years ago when I was at Paris. She was at a different school. She ended up coming here to becoming the associate AD. We spoke last year, found out that the head coach might be leaving. So me and her stayed in contact. She did everything she possibly could to get me here. And so if it wasn't for her reaching out to me and talking on a weekly basis, would I be here? I don't know. She did everything she possibly could to make sure that it worked out, that I was here. So, a huge shout out to her. Chad Lewis is my middle distance coach. He's the one that we call him the money man. So he does all our fundraising and sponsorships for the whole school, not just for track, but for the whole school. So he does all that. So he's been amazing. He did our summer program for our track kids. So he was out there all summer in the burning heat, working to make sure that the kids are getting better. Was also the assistant cross country coach this year. So those two really are the ones I talk to on a daily basis currently. So we're updating facilities. We're in the process right now of redoing our whole track. So right now it's just concrete. Once football season's over, they're going to put the first layer down, and we're going to start painting it. Obviously, as you know, we've purchased a couple new items, got one new set of hurdles. Now we have things that I didn't have in the past. Mm-hmm. So it's been great so far. Those two are the biggest ones that I want to shout out, just because Absolutely. They are the reasons why I'm here. But the rest of my staff, I'm still getting to know them. I'm still,
yeah, right.
They've been doing their other things right now, so I really haven't got to sit down yet. Some of them, I don't know if some of them are coaching other sports. So once their sport's over, they'll be able to come out. But come January, I'll be able to get to know them even more and have a better relationship with them. And we got a couple indoor meets this year, which is going to be fun for me. So it's going to be a good year. I just want it. I know there's going to be bumps in the road here and there. I know that it happens every year. But I'm just hoping that I can continue on with what the program did last year and just take it to the next level if possible.
I love it. You are doing that and you will do that. And you're also continuing on other legacies, right? I remind coaches daily, it's easy for us to think about the kids we have on the team and the effect that we have on them. We sometimes forget that those kids go on to be coaches. Well, their coaching is a part of you. It's part of your legacy. And so you sit on the shoulders of one amazing man, Clyde Hart, but obviously also Mike Nelson. It's great to learn about him as well. You're extending and continuing their legacy. What you do and what you accomplish. When we think of Clyde Hart, we have to also think of you and what you do and what Coach Ford's doing. And you think, it's a big weave of web here. And so you're continuing on that. And it's so awesome to just get to learn more about the Baylor program on different facets, right? From athlete and coach side. And we're going to, next week is a Baylor alum who was an athlete there who is very near and dear to my heart, one of my very good friends. Spoiler alert, also my boss. So you'll enjoy hearing his story next week as well. But it's just amazing to see. I love how you put it. And I loved your face when you said it, by the way, as well, of the family of Baylor. And so I'm just so happy that you chose Baylor out of all the kind of ways it could have gone sideways. I love that happened. It proves that it was meant to be for you to go there and to have the coaches that you had and the teammates that you had as well. I think that all is part of building who Jeremy has become today, man. And so I'm just proud of you that you've gone into coaching. I'm proud of what you've done with those kids. I'm proud of your daughter continuing, again, that theme of continuing on, going to Baylor. You're a great husband and dad. I've known you now for a while, and it's just so cool to see your continued development, man. It's really awesome to see.
Appreciate that. The support I get, from my wife and my kids, my parents, my brother, my sister, my former coaches, former teammates, my current staff, the support I get is so amazing. Even support from you whenever I need something, I reach out, you respond right away. You don't get that from a lot of people, and just to see that. And I don't think, and it's not because of who I am, it's because of who you are. You are the reason why you reach out the way you are. You want to show how you want to be treated is how you treat other people. So the support you've given me throughout these last few years of my coaching career, I couldn't ask for better surrounding people that I've met.
Well, you deserve it, my friend. And you know what? They deserve you as well, and the coaching staff, the kids, and your family, man. So just awesome. Thank you for your time, man. I know it's super busy. It's always busy. I'm always humbled when someone gives me hours of their time. We heard the school bell. He's in school, man. He's got things he's got to get done here. So just grateful for your time today and grateful to learn your journey and share it with our listeners today.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for being here. We are 4x4 Baylor U it through. Last week it was Mike Ford. This week, Jeremy Wariner. I'm not going to ruin the surprise who next week and the week after. You'll just have to come back and see who third and fourth leg is. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. I'll just give you a little hint. You'll really enjoy this. So thanks for being here this week. Join us next week as we continue to uplift and honor coaches around the country. Thanks, everybody.